What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We finally got Facebook working again. Facebook seems to want to be a pain in the ass lately, so I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, it's still not doing your video source.
There it is. It's there.
It's on your end. It's not on. Oh, here we go. There we go.
It's got a delay.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe they just put a bigger delay on us because they didn't like the shit we said last time. I don't know.
No.
But Facebook's hating on us again, I guess. So anyways, welcome back, you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the show. We're glad to be back on again live. You guys, welcome my guest, Casey Land. What's up, my man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm excited about this one.
I know.
It's been a long time since you and I've got to catch up.
It has. It's been 5 or 6 years minimum.
Yeah, short of our like random conversations that we have from time to time. Yeah, but actually in person, it's definitely been.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be Lajitas.
Yeah.
No, wait. We played golf one other time after Lajitas.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That Gentle Creek or something like that. We went and played. Yeah. Right on. Well, for those of you that don't know who Casey is, Casey's a fellow friend of mine in the construction world. Casey and I have worked together on some projects in the past, and when you all saw me make that post a while back where I was asking about people you guys wanted to see, different topics you wanted to talk about, and diving into the construction world, Casey actually reached out and was like, I got a lot we could talk about. So we went down that road, and here we are. So you guys feel free to ask lots of questions. Hop in here if you want. If you got questions, Casey has a very broad background in the construction world. And why don't you go ahead and kind of give everybody a little bit of background about you, where you're from, what your background is, where you started, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so, I'm East Texas boy. Obviously, due to my hat, I'm sure everybody...
Oh, we're already starting with the guns up shit.
Guns up, Rackham Nation. Came out of college, started out as a brick salesman, and then ended up being did that for 8, 9, 10 years. Ended up being VP of sales for rock materials, but as part of that tenure, David Rowland, the owner of Rock Materials, brought me over to Rock Construction, and I started to learn turnkey masonry. In doing so, you start to learn other facets of the construction industry, not just masonry, how things go together, how things are built, flashing, waterproofing, this, that, and the other.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. And that kind of got me moving in that direction, and had multiple people asking me to go out on my own, and I did that. And that's kind of where me and you met.
Yeah, back in the hardscape days.
Yeah, back in those hardscape days.
When it was really hard to escape.
Yes. When we were doing things penny on the dollar and just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of the multifamily world right there. Can you do this for a penny on the dollar?
Yes.
You know, a lot of times, like, I think our first few things we did was like some retaining wall work. And I think you even did some outdoor kitchens too at one point, where we had y'all's masons come in and do some of that stuff.
I believe so. My first few years out on my own, out on our own, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in those year ranges. We were doing outdoor kitchens and pavers and just trying to figure it out and make a dime.
Yeah. Well, what are you doing now?
So we have multiple things going on. The big thing is commercial masonry on a larger end. So, we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. You know, the company's going to do 2-3 million this year, which is good. So, yeah. We're becoming a Chick-fil-A king. We've done 6 of them now.
Oh, wow.
So continue to bang those out and see what happens.
Well,
along with some apartment complexes, and we're doing a big apartment complex for Choctaw Nation. So yeah.
Right on. Where did you guys? Where did your journey kind of start though? In there, where you started more in the sales? Because I mean, kind of take us through that, because you know, much as I did, I know you kind of had a similar journey where, you know, like I started out originally in the insurance world, and that was everything from a desk adjuster to being an outside adjuster, then being a field rep where I was out learning how to estimate, do all of that. Then I had my own decorative concrete company for a while. That was a whole nother experience. Feeding more into that, like well-rounding and just knowing a little about a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like construction is just, you're constantly learning a little bit about a big thing.
Yes.
And you're continuing to add pieces to your arsenal, little tools that you can use. And then I went into estimating in the multifamily world and did that for 3 years while I built up a sales portfolio and the knowledge and abilities to go into sales fully and grow that business and portfolio. So walk us through a little bit of like that journey for you and like how you did that. Because I mean, as you and I know, like I think estimating is where I feel like everybody should start, whether you're sales or project management. Agree. Because if you don't have that background in how it starts, you're kind of missing a real crucial key, because you and I've talked about this a lot. A good estimator can make your company. One bad, like truly bad estimator can bankrupt you. In
the matter of about 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that applies to so many GCs. There's a really good GC based out of Denton, and I won't name their name, but...
Well, that's fine. You can talk about them if you want to. You don't have to. I'm just saying, like, there's no precedent here of, like, you're hurting my feelings because you're promoting a different GC. Like...
No, well...
I'm just saying that so for record on the show.
L, and a lot of people out there will know them, but I say a lot of people, but they were a dang good estimator. They are a dang good GC. They were a company that, with my company with rock contractors, we did a ton of work for them. I mean, I went to Ranger games with the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great dude, and we did tons of work with him. And then years later, looked at doing work with him again because I trusted him. I mean, they did that big building right there at Custer and 121. Anyway, long story short, they hired some bad estimators, and they were out of business.
Yeah, it happens quick. And
I talked to a couple guys that used to work for them. They said, Casey, we were $1 million in the hole before we ever started. I mean, a bad estimator will do that to you.
Especially in the commercial world. Residential, you could probably get by a little bit longer, but I mean, in the commercial world, you know, I just had this experience with one of my estimators I'm training. You know, I took on a young kid that really passionate, really wants to learn, want to make a career out of it. And I told him, you know, bro, I know you want to be in sales eventually, but like, this is going to be no less than 3 years. And that's if you're a badass. Like, yes. You're going to have to be diligent. You're going to have to constantly be trying to learn stuff. Cause I was like, it's real simple. And I gave this analogy to another friend of mine, Evan. I'll shout you out on here since you're over here giving us the business with your dad jokes and shit. He said that job at Choctaw sounds like a real gamble. You know, that's what we're going to go with. So, you know, perfect example of how a job could be really underestimated easily without it really being a lot of fault. You know, we had a mid-rise building downtown with a pool deck on top of it. The bid request was, we want to change out the deck. Same material, and it had some specialty, like, I'm going to say Trex decks because that's what I can think of, because I actually had to research this other material because I hadn't heard of it. So it had Trex decks on it, and they basically said, like, hey, we've got some plumbing issues underneath the deck. We would like to be able to add access hatches where any of these valve boxes are, so that in the future we can easily access those and, you know, go about our business without having to tear up big chunks of this deck. All right, cool. So he goes out there, and luckily we had to rebid some stuff. And was the
deck sitting on the floor? Did they have...
No, it had risers. It had rise
sitting on risers.
Yeah, it had those rise platforms where like all the plumbing ran underneath, and it had all the stabilizers.
Yep.
So like it was a raised deck on top of the, you know, I think it was like a modified bitumen type rooftop on there that was.
Yeah.
So
that's normally how those go.
Yeah. So it's got that kind of setup. Well, he goes out and writes up this pretty straightforward estimate. Luckily, they sent in some other pieces that we had to take into account. So then I had one of my senior estimators go out with him to kind of work on this supplemental addendum that needed to go on with it. Well, thank God I did, because by the time it got to me, he was like, I would have really fucked this up. Like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. So it's like, these boards come in 14-foot links. Mm-hmm. The only way to get this stuff on top of this is to take it through the service elevator. Well, the elevator's only 8 foot tall, so how are you going to get a 14-foot board in there, even if you're running them up and down? So problem number one, he's got to now look at this and go, how do we get the materials off the roof, and how do we get them on?
Yep.
Right, now you're dealing with now you got to take in, it's a mid-rise downtown. Now you got very limited access. So now we need boom lifts. So now we got to get a boom lift out here to take the stuff on and off the building. All right, problem number one. Problem number two, we need to have a dumpster to put all this stuff in. Well, where are we going to possibly put a dumpster on this very limited space? We can't. So we're going to have a truck and trailer here to constantly be taking stuff in and out.
Yep.
Now we're also going to need street closure, because we're going to have a whole lane on this blocked off, coned off with a boom lift, taking stuff off and down. Probably going to need fall protection below that, because there's sidewalks and retail under here.
CYA.
So it's just all these little things where he was just like, okay, cool, I just need to rebuild this deck. Yeah, man, but there's a lot more that goes into this, like we just talked about. So that's real key in like being able to help those guys see those things, and really to like step back. Like, it's not rocket science to figure that out, but like, you got to think of everything from taking it off to putting it back on.
Absolutely.
Getting it there, getting it here.
Yes.
And if you don't take in all that into consideration, I mean, street closure, traffic control, lift, trailer loads versus dumpster loads, there's almost 80 to 100 grand right there that if we hadn't like caught that he completely missed all this and he just treated this like this was your backyard pool deck, you just lost all your profit and you're in the hole 80 grand.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean...
No, I mean, it's so different than any job site. sometimes when you get a set of plans, you don't get to actually see the job site. Obviously, you're not going to.
Sometimes it's bare land.
Exactly.
No.
And normally when they'll give you site photos and stuff of that nature, and you're good. But anytime you get an address, it's a downtown address or in a high traffic area.
Uptown.
Yeah, and just high traffic area. As an estimator, one of the first calls you need to make is, hey, what am I dealing with here? Well, what do you mean? Well, do I have access to the job site? What's parking like?
Yeah.
Are my guys going to have to pay for parking?
Yeah.
Because I got to factor that in. Can I get rentals down there? Or do you have them? I need to know that.
Are the streets wide enough that I can even get this semi truck in here? With this? Or are we going to have to break it down and bring it in?
Yes. What are my delivery schedules looking like down there? Or, how's that going to happen? So on and so forth. These are all questions that, from an estimating standpoint, that you need to know.
Yeah.
And, if you're bidding a job in Anna, Texas, you're probably pretty good.
Yeah.
But if it says Mockingbird
or historic downtown McKinney,
it could be that.
Add historic to it.
Yeah. Once again, those questions have to now. Okay, the wheels should start spinning. Okay, what all are we going to have to deal with here?
Yeah, and it's teaching them a lot of times. Like, again, this sounds very cliche, but there is no dumb question. But they gotta be modest enough and honest enough with themselves to not be afraid to ask the question and just ask questions, talk to the customer.
The biggest thing an estimator can do wrong is assume.
Yeah.
Well, I assume it's going to be this. No. Don't ever do that. Trust me, the first time you do it, you're going to get bit in the ass, and then now you're X amount. And the worst thing that could happen to an estimator, I know from my point of view, is a company calls you and says, hey, man, you good on this?
Are you good on this? Are you sure your number's good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of the worst phone calls you can get at times, because you're like, holy crap, I missed it.
Yeah.
Like, he's seeing if I'm the sucker in the room. Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. And then you have to go back and dude, I'm an idiot. I missed it.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's not that case. Sometimes it's just yeah, man, I've got this market corner on this. Like I know I know I beat them on this. But at least that you get that.
If
you still got to question
GC, it. Or if you know the guy.
Yeah.
And he calls you and says, "Hey man, you're pretty solid. You good on this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan has a question, fellas.
All right. Evan would like to know from you, what is the best advice you would give to someone wanting to get into construction, specifically project management? Someone that has no experience, but someone that's just starting their career out with very minimal. What's the best advice you would give them?
Go find a mentor. Go find a mentor, a guy that is in the industry that can, show you around and show you the things to look for. There's just so many things, and it depends on the trade. But I would definitely recommend to have somebody that knows multiple trades. In other words, like a builder, maybe a GC project manager, as long as he's a good one. But somebody that knows what he's looking at.
Yeah.
Whether it be masonry, framing, concrete, you need to know. Now, I don't think anybody expects somebody to learn a whole bunch about electric, the electric side, the plumbing side.
Yeah, because that's specialty. You got to be licensed.
Yes.
For that. You got to build up that database of those people to call.
You need to know your basic 1, 2, 3s, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't.
You got to know who to call.
There you go. And if you don't know it, you got to know who to call. But as far as framing, masonry, concrete, some of the site work things,
paint, carpentry,
there you go. Have a mentor that's going to show you enough to you can speak knowledgeably about it. Find somebody, a good mentor that will show you around. But I wouldn't get into it until either A, I had a mentor, or B, I had a person that I trusted to show me. Because otherwise you're going to look like a fool. You just are. There's too many people in our industry that know what the hell they're talking about. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, you got to put in the time, and you got to be willing to work at it, and it's not going to happen overnight. Like, I think another key part of that is having reasonable expectations. This is all part of your journey.
Great point.
It's all part of your journey. Like, you're not going to start out hitting home runs.
No.
You're going to start out trying to get walks.
Yes.
Baseball analogy, but like you're trying to get walks. Like you just want to get on base. So getting on base, surrounding yourself with good people.
Don't answer questions you don't know.
No. And that is great advice, because for the first few years, I can, even in sales, and I mean, I knew enough to definitely be dangerous at that point. But I also recognized that because I had a lot of senior project managers around me that I knew, I mean, combined experience, they had 50, 60 years.
Right.
I couldn't tell you the difference between regular stucco and hard coat stucco. I knew it was stucco, but I didn't know how to tell the difference. And one is almost double the cost of the other.
Absolutely.
And, if I hadn't called him.
Completely different coat.
Yeah, so if I hadn't known.
Well, it's an extra coat, but yeah.
Yeah, so if I hadn't known that, like, all right, this looks a little bit different. I don't think it's just how they textured this. Like, I need to, all right, hey, Dan, come meet me at this job site that I'm walking right now and look at this for me. And he comes out and he's like, oh, that's hard coat. You need to call Lionel. You need to get Lionel over here. Lionel's the best hard coat stucco guy there is around here. Mm-hmm. I've used him for 30 years. All right, cool. Saved my ass. But you gotta, when you're starting that process, and I would tell clients all the time, like, don't ever, like you said, don't ever bullshit them and give them an answer just because you want to give them an answer.
There is nothing wrong, and I don't care what industry you're in, for the most part, I guess. But there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what? That's a great question. Let me find out.
Yeah. Or I always say.
But now, when you do that, go find out and immediately get back to them. Yeah.
And that's what I say to them, too. I'll tell them, like, I don't have the answer for you, but I know someone that does.
Yes.
Give me a minute on that. I'm not going to try to bullshit you on this. I'm not going to try to just give you what you want to hear right now. I honestly don't know, but I know somebody that does. I'll write that down. I'll make sure this is addressed. We'll come back to this. And if we need to meet out here again.
You sound like a resource.
Yeah.
When, maybe some people want you to know, but other times, hey, man, let me find out that for you. And they're like, okay, Garrett's going to Garrett's going to go find that out for me. I mean, he's a great resource for this.
Yeah.
And that's how they view you. And then you come back and you have you have a good answer. And they're like, okay, well, Garrett. And they'll call you for other questions.
Yeah.
And maybe you know them, maybe you don't. But they'll still view you as a really good resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's valuable.
Yeah.
That's very valuable in any industry, but especially construction.
So what do you think were some of the like key turning points or key decisions you made early on in your career that allowed you to continue to grow in those sales roles as you continued to develop along the way through these different roles you've had?
Yeah, so when I started out as a brick sales, I was with Bilko Brick, Gary Frills. God, Gary, if you ever listen to this, I love you, brother. But, you know, I was banging it out there until like, I want to say 08, 09, somewhere in there. And then we hit the market downturn. Maybe it was 06. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was in a neighborhood, I'll never forget that. So I was in a neighborhood in Anna, Texas, and they had built, oh my goodness, tons of spec homes. And nobody was living in them because the market had turned. Well, anyway, Bilko, for anybody who doesn't know, it's concrete brick. And I was like, oh my God, I'm screwed. Well, David came calling for me with rock materials, so I went over there. And, you know, that kind of really accelerated my career path. David Rowland was probably the most influential person that I dealt with in my construction days to date. David taught me so much, and just so happy to work for him. And you know, like I said, I was with him for, I don't know, 8 years with rock materials and rock construction. And then eventually made the decision to go out on my own, which is why we met. And kind of banged my way through the years. And now we're in 2024, and here I am.
Yeah.
I don't know how good of an answer that was, but
that's all right. I mean, I think it's a good answer because, you know, the basis of this, and this is going to be a little plug for me here in the new group I started. I'm going to put this on here because you're hearing a lot right out the gate about finding mentors, finding people you can ask questions to, finding good people that you can network with, because you're not always going to have all the answers. You might have one piece of the puzzle, but you need the other two to successfully get through this project, or to even submit a bid for the project, or to even remotely consider selling the project. So you've got to have allies. You've got to build your network. You've got to find these mentors, these people you can lean on and rely on, and jump into that. So, you know, I started a group on Facebook that any of y'all interested, if you haven't already, please join. It's called the Multifamily Allies. And I don't care if you're a competitor, I don't care if you're a product provider, as long as you have something in the game in multifamily construction, come add to this group, add benefit, add value, come share, because that's what this group's going to be about. You know, there's a place for everybody in this. There's enough work in this industry for everybody, you know. So network, build your network. There, you know, my partners would probably hate that I'm saying this right now on my platform. And it's the God honest truth though. Like, I've told this story several times. I have competitors that started at the same time of me, and I'm gonna name them actually for once. Tim Gibbs and Clay Lunsford. We all started in this industry around the same time. I think Tim probably has more skin in the game and been in it longer than any of us, but we all respected each other. We knew we were going to be competing against each other, and we talked to each other, and we found ways like we're going to be out on these same jobs, bidding these jobs day in, day out. And we built relationships, and there came a point where Tim's company couldn't bid certain types of projects. So he didn't want to lose his client overall, because he could still service a certain portion of them, but he didn't want them getting screwed over, and he didn't want to hand them off to another GC that still could do that was also going to poach them for the other business. So, I went out and talked to him and said, he called me and was like, hey, would you handle these projects? I'm like, sure, man, I have no problem doing that. And he's like, but can I just ask, like, will you not like try to pursue all this other stuff with them? Like, can I still have this piece of the pie if you're going to get this piece of the pie? That's all I'm asking for. Like, I'll give you extra work, but like, just don't pursue this. I said, absolutely. I said, but if it gets to a point where like, he's calling me for this, how do you want me to answer that? Like, how are we going to do that? I said, but we'll have that conversation if that ever happens. But yes, you have my word. Let's go with this. Let's rock and roll. And same thing with Clay. He stayed in the game for a while. He ended up being with 2 different companies after the company he was with that we originally met at. And now he's one of my clients. Now he's a construction guy over there. All started out from us being cool as competitors in the same space and having conversations. So, I strongly support that. And, that's why I started that group that, we all need allies. We all need to network. We could all network better. We could all rely on people better. We could all help each other more, because the more you give, the more you get. I mean, it's going to trickle back to you. Like, it's like good karma. Like, you're putting that good out there.
I don't care what your role is. Whether it be, obviously, now sales would be optimal, but project management to estimating to, every facet of the construction industry, relationships matter.
Absolutely.
And let's take this from like a bottom up approach. Let's say from an estimator standpoint, you bid a job, and I've done this in the past, and I've had somebody that I have a great relationship with call me and say, Casey, you missed it. Oh, really? What happened? Well, Casey, you're at X. Everybody else is at Y.
Yeah.
And you're
That's a scary phone call.
Oh, yes. And you're like, oh, crap, thank you. And by the way, you're the low guy by a butt ton.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and then you go back, look at the plans, you're like, oh, golly bum, I'm an idiot.
We completely missed page HJ4.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it can also be relationships with GCs from the project management side. It can be relationships with your subs, which, hey, Johnny over there, I know he's going to show up. I know, and you might be willing to pay him a little more, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to show up and do good work.
Well, it's having that question and it's having those conversations with your clients and the ownership, knowing what their expectations are. Is getting this project done in a certain amount of time the most important thing to you? Is having Taj Mahal work the most important thing to you? What is it? Because I have connections and subs and guys that can do all of this, but am I trying to be the lowest number right now? Am I trying to be in the middle? Or does none of that really matter? My number is my number, and we want this done right. We want it done in this time period. It has these complications. You have to be able to deal with these complications, because sometimes that dictates where you can go in that proposal or in that job. Sometimes it's not the lowest number. I mean, in this economy right now, that's what really sucks. Like right now, 9 times out of 10, it's lowest numbers winning the job.
Yes.
But if you're dealing with something really complicated where like time matters, and this guy has the capacity to take it on, and he has the manpower to do it and do it right, and he has the supplier connections, the list goes on. But if he has all those things, but I already know, because I have a relationship with this guy, he's 10% higher than Jose over here. Jose can do the same thing, but like, he ain't going to get it done as fast. Jose's still going to take on more work. Jose's
from a GC standpoint in your situation, and from a sub standpoint in my situation, you always, and this is the ultimate relationship. If you know you have it, you get last call.
Yeah. I mean, last call is good too.
Last call.
Yeah. And last call can go two ways.
Casey, I got X amount of guys at this number. You're at this number. Can you do it or not?
Yeah.
And you get last call.
So does last call mean you get the last opportunity?
You're the last look. They really want you to have the job.
Yes.
So your client's calling and saying, hey.
To his point, they know you can do it. To everything he just said, they know that you're going to have the guys they know you have the supplier connections. They know you have the guys to do it, and they know you're going to do it on time.
But it can also be the opposite scenario of what I was giving and what he gave earlier of sometimes you get the call saying, holy shit, are you good with your number? And that means you're really low.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get the call and the client says, okay, you're not the lowest here. So-and-so is down here. Can you get to this number, or why can't you get to this number? Sometimes it's hey man, let them drown on that, because now they're not even going to be in the competition.
Oh, that's a great
after this job, they won't be in the competition. Let them burn on that, because you're going to get rid of one of my competitors.
And as a smart, business owner or whatever, you got to learn when to say, let them have it.
Yeah. I'm not going to lower my bid to this.
Do that. You have to clean up a lot of messes. Like, do they have to?
Yeah, sometimes you might
finish what the other guy didn't do correctly.
You might get called back 3 months later because they fired that person off the job
because they misbid it.
But sometimes they'll let them ride and they'll hang them to dry on it, and then because there might be other political things involved. There might be someone higher up on the totem pole and saying, "Give this job to so and so." And they have to do it. They know their bid is wrong. And they're like, okay, I'm going to let them ride. Sometimes they also go, all right, they're really low. Why can't you get down here? And I can say, hey, man, your guy already misbid this, so I had to put higher contingencies in here. This guy, I know he's not my cheapest, but he's going to get it done on time, no change orders. He's going to be the right guy for this. So like, I can't bring that guy on unless you're going to lower yours and or the owner's expectations on this. And I know what you're expecting here. So if we're lowering that, you go with them, because that's not your expectation. I mean, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. I mean, they might pull it off, but I'm willing to bet you 3 out of 5 times they can't own up to the thing. And you're either going to come in and fix, and it's going to cost them more, or you're going to come back and have to fix their problems and get it done regardless, or they're not going to be able to do it. They're going to settle for what they get, and then you're going to not have to bid against them down the road because they're going to burn that bridge.
So how does it how does it work as far as the order of business? If you have a brand new project, a brand new bid, that a salesman would go out and get the work, then you would bid it, and then you would go from there. How strong is who I guess, to overcome this, who is the cog in the wheel that's important as far as the relationship part goes? Because relationships go a far go.
It's a sales guy.
So the relationship with if he's telling him what you just told me, that you may have got a bid here, but these are the reasons why we are where we are. That's his thing, to try to solidify that relationship to win the bid or business, or to get them to understand that I'm not trying to take you over budget. I'm trying to get you to realize that you get what you pay for.
Yeah. So from my aspect, I'm the estimator and the salesman.
Okay.
So, I'll go back and look at a job, and if it's a complicated job, a lot of returns, a lot of complicated things to look at. Like for instance, maybe an apartment complex. And I got a great relationship with the GC because I'm the estimator and the salesman. I'll go back and look at it and go, okay, well maybe like for instance, if they say you're 10, 15% off. Okay, that's fair. And you'll go look at it and you'll say, all right, yeah, I might be. All right, I'm good. I'll do it for that. But if somebody comes back to me and says, hey, Casey, you're just round numbers. Your bid was $200,000. I got another guy at $150,000. Now, where the relationship matters, and Garrett, I would think you would be able to speak to this, says who? And I say that all the time. Says who?
Yeah.
Well, I got one other guy at $150,000. You got one. Where's everybody else at? Show me the bid sheets.
Well, and you have to ask sometimes, like, show me the scope. Are we even bidding apples to apples? I want to see the scope
with that.
Because at Element, we're known for providing one of the most detailed scopes in our industry. Now, that's good and bad because there are times we get used for that. Where we may not have the relationship yet and we're trying to get our foot in the door.
If you're putting a bid together, and you guys do that.
Yeah.
And he just brought up a great point. Sometimes you want to be vague. Sometimes you want to be horribly detailed, to where, like, horribly detailed is a great CYA, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is exactly what I'm bidding. Other times you don't want to do it because you want to leave yourself some wiggle room.
No, see, and that's where there's a slight difference between what he does and what I do, because he has a more singular, like, he is a sub that I would use.
Yes.
Whereas I'm a GC and I'm managing all these subs. Like, there's not just Casey. I need Casey, Jose, Lionel, so on and so on to do this whole job.
You need framers, you need shingle guys, you need masons, you need...
So I need all these different trades. I'm not just taking into account what he's given me information-wise. I'm looking at a bigger picture. So vague... If I'm ever vague, that's like when we're doing a due diligence and we're walking with them, and it's like, we're not putting a hard bid on this. If you, as my client biz, if you called me and said, hey, I'm looking at buying this property, these are the things we're seeing. These are things we need to address. Will you come walk with me? Yes, cool. Let's go walk. Now, that can go one of two ways. Do you want a hard bid or not? If you don't want a hard bid and you're just kind of vaguely wanting to make sure you can or can't make this deal work, then I walk with you and it'll go something like this. Like, okay, we want to do all this carpentry. All right, I'm walking around looking at the buildings. I'm kind of doing it in my head, looking around. I'm like, all right, you got this many buildings, writing the notes. All right, you need $80,000 for carpentry, roughly. All right, well, we want to do a full paint. All right, you got this many units. On average, you're going to be here. All right, you need $180,000 for paint. So now you're at $260,000 just carpentry and paint. All right, well, we've got these roof issues. All right, well, I can't get on your roofs right now and fully inspect them. Let's just assume you don't have an insurance claim. You just have some maintenance. Let's put $20,000 and put you in a maintenance plan. Yeah, I know it's low, Brian. I'm shooting from the hip, Rain Man. Then, we go to these other things, and he's like, all right, I have this drainage problem over here. All right, we got this. All right, cool. You need to throw 15 grand at that. Or maybe, well, shit, your whole retaining wall system is effed over here, and we got to do this. Like, we're going to have to really do that. Like, you might want to get a hard bid on that, or maybe have an engineer or somebody come out and look at this. Like, and I'll verbally do that with them just walking through. They can write that down. They're not holding me to that. I'm just trying to help them. And, people like Brian, who's on here, is, he's already doing that in his head. He's asking me to kind of confirm, like, hey, we're on the same page. All right, cool. Then he goes, all right, you got 3 days. Get your team out here. Let's hammer this out. I need hard bids. They're going to go hard on this because all our numbers are lining up in their process of looking at buying the asset. So now we're on alignment. So that's the only time I'm going to be vague. That's as vague as I'm going to be. People can use me. I hate saying this. Like, I shouldn't say this, but like, it's going to happen regardless. I'm going to get used for my bids because I write the most detailed bids. My estimators go out, and that's why sometimes we're going to take a day or two longer to turn in our bids because I'm not going to be vague. I'm not going to cheat the system. I'm not going to go out and walk 3 of your building types for a carpentry and paint, and I'm going to average them and then just give you a little spreadsheet bid that says we're replacing 1,000 feet of 2x6 fascia. We're going to place, 489 feet of 1x4 window trim. Well, where? Like, where's that going? Like, when my clients get my bid and we go out and walk it, if they actually read it, and I'm not saying like some clients just look at that bottom number and they don't really give a shit. They give a shit when they get out there and realize that they didn't relay the right expectation, or the expectation wasn't relayed properly, or we bid off of what they told us and that wasn't really what they wanted. Because now, sometimes, now that you replace all the really bad, they want that in between because now that's the worst stuff on the property. So you got to know your client. You got to have those conversations and go through that process. But I would never shortchange a scope like that. Like I hate nothing more than being sent another competitor's bid that is not held to the same standard we are, and then I get asked to match that bid. That pisses me off more than anything. Like, let's just do it right, and let's call a spade. Let's be apples to apples, and best man win. I'm cool with that all day long because it's going to come down to, if it is price driven, it's going to come down to price. If it's relationship and the quality of work and they know what you're going to do, then it's going to come down to that. And I'll ride by that all day long. I don't want to be vague. When my client and I go out and walk a building, all right, he said on the east elevation, we're replacing 49 feet of 2x6 cedar fascia. Boom. Pre-primed, hung up. There's 12 feet, there's 12 feet, there's 12. All right, we're good. We can check that off. This building's ready for paint prep and to move on to paint. There is no bullshit.
Hey,
there's no question.
If it's within 10% of what you bid, you're fine with that. Mm-hmm. But if it comes in at 30, 40% more, you're like, dude, that's not what I bid.
Yeah.
And to your point, when you get a set of plans and you're rolling through them, you're like, oh man, this got a lot going on. I will start naming pages. This number is according to A 3.01 Section 5.
Okay.
And I'll start putting the page numbers according to the plans as to what that number is relating to.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
And I'm only as good as the blueprints.
Yeah, and they can miss a lot of shit on that too. So,
Exactly. Once again, CYA. If I get out there and that's not what is happening because we all know blueprints and what actually happens on the job site are two different things. Just a whole bunch of times.
Can be.
They can be. And so if I get out there and that's the reason you put those details in those bids. Hey man, y'all said that was 8 feet. It's 12.
Yeah, and sometimes you have customers with different expectations. I mean, I have one right now. I respect the hell out of this guy because he will do it right and he will pour a lot of money into it, but like he is still probably the hardest client to please of any that I have. This guy wants Taj Mahal. I mean, if the caulking around the window trim is so old that when you're tearing it off, it's cracking the corners on the masonite siding that really should be replaced. He now wants all that siding replaced. He wants it to look perfect. All right, cool. That ain't in my scope. Like, I'll do it, but like that's going to be a supplement.
Yeah.
But I mean, and to his credit, he usually does not argue or kick back on that. Like he's going to do it, and it's very clear. And there's not an argument.
So where
because
are you on change orders now?
What do you mean by that?
Well,
where am I on change orders? I mean,
was it hard for you to early in your career to issue one?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, like early on, like you never want to give a client a change order. That's why we pride ourselves in our scopes and the way we write them.
Right.
But I mean, to me, there's only two types of change orders. Well, really, there's three. There's the one you don't send your client because it's bullshit and you miss the mark.
Right.
Now you got to take care of that either out of your contingency or you're dropping the project down.
Right.
Then there's the absolutely legit change order. We can't see this with our naked eye. There was not enough information. It's either above the roof line or it was completely covered. You open up this balcony and yeah, it had water damage on the front, but like termites have eaten the joists all the way going into the building. All right, I can't see that. Like, hey, you need to get your termite guy out here and address this, or the carpenter ants, whatever that may be. That's legit. All right, cool. We photograph it, we document it, we stop, we tell the client like, okay, here, we've obviously got to address this, or how do you want us to address this?
Right.
That's a legit change order. Now, the third being the supplement. Now, there can be a supplement, and like that's rare for me, even in this day and age. A supplement is like the client I was just describing, where we have a detailed scope of work where like we wrote all this stuff based on the expectation of like what we thought he wanted and what we knew we'd have to do to win the bid. Mm-hmm. Now, when we get out here and start doing this, and he's like, okay, well, why aren't you taking care of this, this, and this? Mm-hmm. Well, let's walk our scope. Let's verify that everything on my scope's done.
There you go. It's a great point.
We verified that everything on here that you approved for us to do is done. Now, okay, you want this handled. Okay, that's fine, but that'll be a supplement because like that's additional work you're asking us to do now.
So you're not even calling that a change order.
I would not call it, because it's not a change order. It's a supplement.
Yeah.
And just like when he walked garage door panels, this guy, based on his level of expectation, if it had like just a crease where the garage pool is pulling on it, and it's been doing it for so long that it makes that little tiny crease on it. He wanted that panel replaced. All right, that's the top panel. That's the most expensive panel. These other 3 are fine, but you want this one replaced. All right, I can do that, and I'll walk through here and do that. And if that's what you want, because once we put new paint on it, that's going to be shiny, and that little crease is going to stick out. Like, I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
But most apartment owners would be like, I give 3 shits about that. But this guy is like, no, that needs to be addressed. Hey, man, great. I will build you a supplement. I'll send my estimator back out here. He'll walk all these again. Every single panel that has a crease like that, we'll write it up. Here you go. He shits a brick because it's a $40,000 change order. But then again, he's like, nope, that's what I want. And he'll pay it. But that's a supplement. So to me, there's the change order for things you did not see that you could not have seen. There's the change order that you will not last very long because you failed and you're going to try to push that back to your client. You're not going to just make it up later, or you're going to eat it a little bit. Is it really worth you sending a change order to your client? I mean,
great point.
A lot of people should learn that a lot sooner in life. Like when you're looking at, you really want to send him a $500 change order for something you should have taken care of.
Yeah.
Because let's not lie either. We all put contingency factors in here. Yes. We even have clients that, I ain't gonna lie, we put what we call jokingly a PETA factor. You're a pain in the ass. So guess what? The normal contingency would be 2%. You're 4%. Because we know as soon as we take care of that bad shit, you're now gonna want this other little shit taken care of. So cool. Point. That's on you. And that comes from experience. Your audience. And that comes from experience and learning how to walk these things and make sure you have an understanding of your client's expectations.
Oh, that's a great point.
So, yeah, change orders. I mean, like, yeah, I hate it. I mean, I had a client that for a long time, he called me the change order king. And honestly, it pissed me off for a while. Because it was like, you're saying that, but like, where does this fall in? Like, because like, did you not set the right expectation? Like I've already, and let's be honest, like you had a little higher contingency in here because I knew once we took care of the really bad, you were going to want this in between taken care of. But now you're kind of pushing that a little bit because either you're getting it from the owner, and it's usually not them though. And you got to remember that too. It's not them. They have other people they're answering to. And sometimes they have to remember too that you're both working for the same person. We're both ultimately working for the ownership. You manage for ownership. We're working for you and ownership to get this project done. Mm-hmm. So there's a balance there, and you got to learn that, and you got to learn how to communicate that. And again, a lot of this starts at the beginning. You've got to have these conversations up front and learn when to ask questions and walk with them and go, hey, does this match what you're talking about right here? Is this the standard? Is this the expectation? Like, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
The worst is though, same thing, that same job I was kind of talking about earlier, is my team executing on that to the level that they should be? No, not completely. We're working on that. So like, that's another battle there too, that like they have to take, and as a sales guy and an estimator, you're only as good at the end of the day as your subs and your project managers are. Because in reality, at the end of the day, we're managing jobs that they don't have the time to manage or to be on top of all the time, or don't have the resources and connections to do that. And most of the time, it's just a time thing. So
it's a great point.
Your managers have to, at the end of the day, the best project managers, they really care about what that job is at the end of the day. Like they personally take pride in seeing the final piece of artwork. And if they do that, then they give a shit, and they're really trying to do it. Like no excuses, no bullshit. They own it. This is what we're creating. And like, yeah, I know. All right, man, I'm going to have to get him a little extra money on the next one. Like, hey man, I really need you to like go button this up a little bit more. Like that, you know what? Yeah, that top piece of trim you cut in right there, your guy missed that mark by like a quarter of an inch. Like I can't have a half inch of caulk making that gap. Like, sorry, he should have brought out a table saw, cut that shit right, and got it on there. Like, or measured a little bit better. So there's a lot of little things packed into that. That's probably a very long-winded answer to all that.
That's
though.
Wonderful. You couldn't have said it any better. So I'll backtrack. I used to, when I was VP of sales for Rock Materials, I used to tell my salespeople, "Don't make me a liar."
Oh, yeah, that's number one right there.
Don't make me a liar. And then, when I was training new inside salespeople, they'd say, "What do you mean?" I said, "If you tell somebody, if I call you and I say, hey, I want this to happen on Thursday," and you say, "Casey, you're good," and then it doesn't, and so I'm going to call the customer and say, "Hey, it's happening on Thursday," and then it doesn't happen on Thursday, well, you just made me a liar.
Yeah.
I said, call me on Wednesday. For that matter, call me as early as you can Thursday morning and let me know, "Casey, this is not going to happen," to where I can get out in front of it and I don't look like an idiot. I said, but now, once I went on my own, and this would apply more to me and you now, certainly, you're only as good as your labor and your project managers.
Absolutely.
Period. They will make you shine, or they will make you look like complete dipshits.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the right guys on the job,
and that's hard sometimes. And
it is.
That boils into the other part of this, and that's communication. So any estimator and sales guy worth their weight will tell you communication is key. You start with estimation, like as we said, that can make or break you. So early on, it's asking the right questions, knowing the expectations, knowing the scope, being able to line that out. Then on the sales guide, did you get all the right information? Did you go through all your resources? Did you put this together properly? Now, if you did that and you've checked all those off, you're turning in a blueprint or an instruction manual, as I like to call it, to the project manager who's never seen this job when it goes to contract. Now he goes out there and he's got to explain to all these different subs, this is what we got to do. Now, if that's all clean, clear, and you priced it right, you did everything, now you're completely hands off for the most part. You're solely relying on them. Mm-hmm. So now communication kicks into a different level, and communication becomes vitally important. Can your project manager communicate at an above average level? Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean
schedule.
Can they schedule properly and communicate and hold their subs accountable? Do their subs respect them? Mm-hmm. Do their subs listen to them and do what they said do? Did they bring on a sub team that overcommits and takes on more than they can handle because they just don't want to turn anything down? Did they get the right guys there? Are they taking care of their guys?
Yeah. And,
are they supervising them?
How many times in your... because I know what happens in mine. But how many times did a guy underbid a job, and instead of having 7 guys to go do whatever trade it was that they were supposed to do, they have 3.
Yeah.
And now now, not saying those three guys can't do it.
Steamrolling now.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it. They were supposed to do it in 5 days. Now it's going to take them 10.
Schedule's falling behind, then quality of work's falling behind because then they start getting rushed, and then they're not taking the same quality and care of work.
But he's trying to cut $1 because he underbid the job, and you're like, dude, I need more guys. And they give you some, and then
my guys can take care of it, and then they start rushing.
Guys, they're gonna get it done, and you're like, no. I know they're gonna get it done, just not in the time frame that I wanted them to do it,
or at the quality level I want them to do it. So that's a good project manager right there. Like, can they balance those things?
Yeah, it could be that.
But they also have to communicate, because communication, and that's where you said, don't make me a liar. I have the same thing, because project managers also have, and I try to make sure my guys know, if you come to me, this is like a lesson. This is a lesson from my father. I hate saying this. Fuck. So
I got a ton of those from my clan.
My dad told me, he's like, and I remember this as a kid, he's like, if you don't lie to me and you come to me and you tell me the truth, I will help you out. I'll do whatever I can to get you out of whatever bullshit you got yourself into. Because trust me, I've already been there and done that. I guarantee you I've already done it. Yeah. So as long as you come to me and you're honest and you're upfront and you tell me the truth, I'll take care of it. Well, more project managers need to be trained in that aspect, because, and I get it, it's natural human instinct to want to fix the problem you created or the problem that you have.
Yes.
And that's fine, and I'm okay with that. But you need to communicate. I've told my guys, I don't give a shit what it is. It could be the smallest thing. Just call me. I'm not too busy. I will take your call. Call me and tell me, hey, this just happened. I'm either fixing it right now. I've got this planned out to fix this, or, hey, what do we need to do to take care of this?
Oh my God.
Now, if you would just do that for me, Now guess what? You've now educated me about what's going on, because I can't be on that job site every day. That's your job. But the client's not going to call you. The client's going to call me. And all it takes is a porter, a maintenance guy, a leasing agent, a manager, and God forbid it be a construction guy, a VP, ownership. I don't want any of them calling me and asking me a question and saying, hey, so I just heard this is happening on the job site, or this just happened. What's going on here? You want to piss me off as a project manager? Let me have to say, I don't know. Give me 5 minutes and I'll call you back, but I'll get to the bottom of this. You want to piss me off as a project manager? There's your golden ticket. Because all you had to do, you can fix it yourself. That's fine. All you had to do is pick up the phone and tell me, hey, this is what's going on. I've either got it handled, I'm getting a handle on it, or I don't have a handle on it and I need help.
Oh, such a great
one of those three things.
That
saves your ass and my ass.
I have it, I'm going to, or I need your help.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? We can deal with either of those three things.
Yes.
I just got to know.
You just got to know.
You just have to communicate, because then when my client or the ownership calls me and says, hey, what about this? Hey, man, you're right. I wasn't going to call you and bother you just yet. We just got to the bottom of this. But this happened. We've already got it under control.
Yes.
This is the plan. It'll be done by here. It's not going to add any more time. There's no bigger delays. And it's not going to cost you any more money. Don't worry about it. We've got it under control.
Yeah.
Or that conversation goes way better.
$30,000 change order coming.
And the sooner you can tell them about a problem, the better too. And same thing goes.
It's like when we were growing up, similar to what you just said. My dad used to always say, if the shit's gonna hit the fan, turn the fan off first.
Yeah. Exactly.
When the shit hits the fan, the first thing you need to do is turn the fan off. Whatever was causing the problem, turn the dang thing off, and then let's reassess what all went wrong.
Yeah.
And then let's deal with it.
Well, and the same goes still with the communication thing.
But once again, yes, it's a communication thing. In other words, if we've got a problem here, and I tell my boys this, if we've got a problem, that's fine. We all have problems. But can we stop and talk about it?
Yeah. Construction always has problems. It's how you deal with the problems when the problems arise.
Construction always has problems.
There's you a golden nugget right there for anybody in construction. How you choose to deal with a problem is going to dictate whether you are successful or not. How you communicate that, how you deal with it, how you handle it, that is it will endear you to whether you're a GC, an owner, a sub, it doesn't matter which part of the ladder that you're on. It will endear you to whomever you're working for. Yeah. And the same thing goes when I was talking about communication. The one last little nugget on communication I want to say on that. And then, Paul, I'm going to get back to you on that real quick. But it's the same thing goes with the project managers of just don't let me get that phone call before you've updated me. Like, give me something. Because, like, again,
great point.
If it's gonna be bad, or you're not gonna meet this deadline, like you were saying earlier, like if you told me on Thursday that I'm gonna say they told me they would be done on Wednesday, I'm gonna tell my client, hey, they'll have this done by Thursday. I'm already adding 24 hours to whatever the hell they tell me, because I know I either want enough time to go put my eyes on it myself.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Yeah, like I would rather it be, hey, we got this done on Wednesday. But on Tuesday, you already know your guy got the infamous, I got a flat tire. He's not there. He doesn't show up till 2:00 in the afternoon. And you got a fifth done of what you had to get done. And now you're scrambling on Wednesday and there's no way you're gonna get done. Call me on Tuesday and go, hey bro, I don't think this is gonna happen. Like, I need you to buy me some more time. Well, guess what? On Tuesday night, that's a lot easier than Thursday morning when you're telling me now, like, this ain't gonna happen.
Don't make me a liar.
Yeah, so that goes both directions. Now, Paul, I want to answer your question, but I don't know that I fully understand your question. Paul said, if you haven't already, give us a good example of this job is not for us. Do you mean like early on when we like get asked to bid something that we turn down a job, or a job that we're asked to do and we reject? Give me a little more on that and I'll happily answer that question, because I think it's a good question. I just want to make sure I'm answering it properly.
Yeah, and Paul, I can tell you from my standpoint, like, for instance, there's all kinds of projects now that come down the pipeline that maybe have tile on them, or maybe have some other, there's a lot of specialty products that are coming down the line, and I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, have somebody else pick that up. That's really not our deal.
Yeah.
But I would think for you, that's, you know, you've got a whole lot more, trades that you have to deal with.
I would say I could answer that two ways, Paul. So I will say, first and foremost, I've walked away from jobs before, and especially early in my sales career, that pissed my partners off tremendously, and I took a lot of heat for it. And it was usually, if I was saying I was walking away from a job, it's because I knew the person that I was dealing with. I knew enough about them.
You took it to a different point.
Yeah, but I mean, I knew enough about them. I did my work. I knew he wanted the lowest dollar, but he wanted Taj Mahal.
Yes.
Great point. Or he was setting me up for failure. Like, there's certain jobs you get that feeling where we're putting lipstick on a pig, or it's been band-aided so many times that there is no option but to do it right, or if I felt it was creating a liability for me or my company because we warranty projects for a certain amount of time, then I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to politely walk away from that and, let so-and-so have this job. Like, I'm going to let them, man. Like, we're good. I can walk away from that. And then when I get put on the hot box with my partners or, whomever at the company, I'll say, well, here's all the information. You go look at it. Right. If you want to take this on and you want to sign off on this, cool, you go for it.
Yes.
I'm not putting my name on that. Like, I'll stay away from that. So that's kind of how
certain times you get a read on a certain guy that and you're like, man, no thanks.
Or I will say, and this kind of falls into it's been band-aided so many times that, like, I'm sorry, you've delayed this so long, and yes, this is a number you're not going to like, but if I'm going to do this, this is the only way I'm going to do this. Like, this is the way this needs to be done, and I'll stand behind this, and we're going to do this and do this right.
Which is usually roughly twice amount.
Yeah, it's going to be double it. Yeah, for sure. If you'd have done it right and not band-aided it all those times, like, this wouldn't be as painful.
Usually, like, if it was supposed to be $50, it's now $100.
Yeah, like, this is going to hurt. Like, but if this is what you want, then cool, I'll do it.
If you don't, for this.
And I mean, I've had people. I had a head of construction that, like, flew me in, and his boss flew in from the East Coast, and we'd done all this work and we had the bids, and I sat here and I was like, look at this. I mean, like, all your catwalks they've been sistered on both sides. The middle's rotted, one side's outside. Like, these have to be completely torn off and rebuilt. Not to mention you got water going back into the units now. Like, and you need to have a very healthy, budget to address the unknown, because as soon as we open up those walls and stuff, you're going to have a bigger problem there. So as
Garrett,
soon as I open that up, that's going to be a big problem. And that owner was convinced that, like, no, this can be done this way, and I want you to change your bid, and I want you to do it this way. Like, I'm not doing that. I've already met with the city inspectors, and I had to call him a liar because I legit had already met with the inspectors because they were out there writing them tickets for violations, and he told me, like, no, there's no more of this. This is how it's gonna be done. I was like, cool, we're on the same page. So that instance, I had to tell that owner, I'm sorry, I guess I'm not the guy for you. You can put whoever you would like out here. Like, I'm not going to jump on this project.
So, Garrett, tell because I deal with it on a decent amount, not a decent amount. I deal with it all the time, but waterproofing.
Mm-hmm.
How big of a issue has that become, since you started doing this job?
I fucking hate it. I get asked to be a fucking leak detective and a leak expert all the time. And my experience has taught me, like, all right, cool, we're going to come out and look at this. if I can, and sometimes you can easily detect what the problem is. Like, it's obvious.
Yeah, the flashing's just
yeah, I mean, like, you can easily do it. But when this has been an ongoing leak that multiple people have already looked at, it's been worked on several times. People have been fired, walked off, walked away, all that. All right, now it's time to get down to the seriousness. Like, and sometimes, I have some building envelope specialists that I will bring in at times. And you're not going to like that number either. But you know what? I'm not going to spend any more of your money guessing at this shit. Sometimes you need that engineer expert that's going to come in with the infrared camera, and he's going to do his thing. They're going to do water testing. They're going to use the cameras, and they will tell you what is wrong. Now, you're not going to like it either because they're going to over-engineer that, and there's a balance there too where once they do that, no one's saying you have to do it exactly the way that engineer said, because the engineer is going to go way above and beyond. There's probably a happy medium there, but I am not going to be your water person at a certain point. Like, we have systems and stuff in place at a certain level of, we'll do this. Yeah, we can bring cameras in, we'll bring moisture detectors, or we'll say, hey, we're going to charge you this. Let us open this up. Just here, demo only bid. We're going to open it up, and then let's all meet out here and look at it, and let's see if we can figure out collectively what's really going on, instead of just looking at it from a broad, wide angle lens and trying to guess. I think you guys have done enough guessing. Let's open this shit up a little bit, and whatever it is, it is.
It is.
And then go from there. But I'm not playing water leak detective or investigator outside of those terms.
Yeah.
Because that's only going to piss people off and create a bigger problem. Like, again, it comes down to knowing what you're dealing with. Like, don't guess. Don't bullshit them. And if they are very persistent at no, I don't want to go through all that, cool. Then we either open this up and we all come out here and look at it, and your name's going on it, my name's going on it, and we're going to collectively agree or disagree on how we're going to move forward, or you can call somebody else. I don't really want to deal with this headache. Yeah. I would rather do your carpentry and paint job that's going to be a lot cleaner, and we can do this. And Redder, you are not better. You already know this. Stop trolling over here. You know who's better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're good?
Good?
Mm-hmm. All right. Rock and roll. I'll take questions while you take a break.
Yes, sir.
Or Biz and I'll just shoot the shit. We ain't got to do that in a little while. What's up, Biz?
I'm just sitting over here now realizing I don't want to be a general contracting, project managing, construction guy.
No, we sold you off of it.
I mean, the project manager part, I think I would love. Selling part, not so much.
You're crazy. You know what? They made me project manage and run my first job that I sold to a client. And I literally walked into the office after that weekend of being out on the job site all damn weekend. And I literally told them, if you ever make me do that again, I quit.
That bad, huh?
I am not a babysitter of grown-ass men.
Worse than hurting.
I do not have the patience or tolerance to deal with that. It takes a special person to be a good project manager, and that's why I support and back up my guys 1,000%, and I'll do whatever I can to make their job easier and help them, but I don't want to do that shit.
Do they get paid well?
Mm-hmm.
So if I was able to take a plane full of, I took...
Most of them probably should get paid a little more. I mean, I can't say that. I
took 16 guys, most of them drug dealers, the rest of them egomaniacs, on a complete tour of Japan and South America for a month. Bailed 2 of them out of jail. One of them almost got his hands cut off by another drug dealer in Colombia. and we played basketball the whole time. I think I can handle it. Nobody got killed and nobody.
Hey, I mean, if you're really good at managing people, you know, like Evan is stepping off into the project management world. Evan's managed major musicians and grown men that act like children. Mm-hmm. Evan will be very successful at project managing because he knows how to deal with that shit. I just personally do not have the patience to deal with that. Like, don't overcommit to me. Don't tell me this. I mean, like, I have to do this. You'd be amazed. Just my team of estimators. I have 3 estimators that work directly for me, and the lack of respect at times that some of our subs will give my estimators is absolutely ridiculous. They'll call them and blow them up, and then they'll be like, "Hey, I still need this. I haven't got this. I've been asking for this bid for a week, and I know the client's calling me, and I've been on their ass. Well, now I got to call them and go, damn it, so-and-so, like, what's it going to take? Like, where's the bid? Like, my guy says that you're the only reason he doesn't have this project turned into me. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Reed. I'll get that over to you right now. And you know what? In 30 minutes, I have it. You know, it sucks sometimes that I have to use my authority.
Can you go to somebody else if he's not doing it? Do you have another?
I mean, sometimes, but that's going to delay it because now they got to go back out there. They got to go meet them at the job site. Yeah. They got to go retract all these things and, you know, do that.
Brian, you don't play basketball with no hands. I said I had to make sure and negotiate his hands in order for him to go to the game.
Chop, chop, square.
Yeah. So yeah, that was part of the fun. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode.
Yeah, but yeah, to answer that, like, yeah, I mean, I don't personally have that in me. I would not excel or be good at that, you know. But like, the good ones I recognize. I want to promote them. I want to help them in any way I can. And you know, I think I've shown that throughout my career that those guys know. I'm never going to just attack them first. I'm going to wait because I know there's 2 sides to every story. Give me the information. But again, I will hammer your ass if you do not communicate with me. You get me thrown under the bus. You try to handle shit on your own without any communication. Cool. You want to ride on that? You ride that horse by yourself. You've now shown me that that's what you want to do. You're a maverick. You think you can fly solo and that you don't need no help and that you're just going to take care of shit. Cool. When that goes bad, don't now come to me crying and want me to bail your ass out because I'm already eating shit for whatever you just did. So
yeah, because here's the deal.
Let's figure it out ahead of time. Yeah, because I'm the face of it. But what I'm selling is what you do for a living.
Yes.
So like
you're the face, and you're only as good as the person behind you.
It's got to go both ways. So like again, as long as they communicate, I got you, bro. I will back you up. I will take that on, and we'll work through this. But if you go all maverick and you don't communicate, guess what? I'll let you eat a little bit of shit, and I'll probably be the first one back there working on like you're going to get written up for this at a minimum. Like you're going to learn this lesson, and you either learn it and grow from it and move on. I'll give you a great example, and I want to give this guy a lot of credit because he's grown a tremendous amount. Jorge was not the greatest project manager when Jorge started with us. Jorge did not communicate well. Jorge tried to put out fires, didn't get ahead of it. But you know what? We called him out on it. And you know what? We set him down like, hey, bro, you got to do this. Like, you know what? I can't think of anybody that started out where he did that has made that kind of leap. He's requested on jobs now because he communicates. He sends out updates. He makes sure his shit is taken care of. He doesn't let a sub tell him this done. He's learned. I got to go check. A sub will lie to you.
Oh my God, a project manager that actually goes and checks and see if something's done?
Right.
Shocker.
Worth his weight in gold.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, I'll give Jorge a lot of props. Like, project manager that made the most improvement.
But you're wondering, it's It's a rare thing. Most guys will sit in their trailer or sit in their office and the sub comes in and goes, hey man, I got that done. And you're like, okay, cool. Because it's a relief, right? No, man, you got to go check and make sure that they got it done.
Done, yeah.
Yes, I mean,
I guess I said my brother was a project manager from high school until he retired last year. That's what he did.
Yeah.
In construction, and he did quite well, quite well. So, hey, you want to come work with me? No, because I don't love my brother that much. But actually, I do. But I'm just saying, I always curious about because that's what he's done since we graduated school together. But
yeah.
Everybody has their strengths.
I tell you what, from a it's not the sub aspect. I would think it'd be Garrett, with you, a GC aspect. You find people that will communicate and pay on time. You will jump through effing hoops for them.
No, I mean, that's why we have the sub base that we have, because we pay our subs, and we're known for this industry. We pay our subs every 2 weeks, regardless of if we've been paid. Every 2 weeks.
You submit. By the way, anybody watching this right now, that's highly unusual.
Yeah, you submit an invoice for shit you've actually done that my project manager is going to verify.
I don't know how many people are watching this right now.
Yeah.
They're calling bullshit on you.
No, the people in my industry know we're known for this. We're known for this. That's why we have such a loyal sub base. That's why subs beat our doors down when shit gets slow, wanting to come work for us and see if they can get an in. Yeah. Because you submit an invoice for work you've actually done, and then my project manager verifies you've done, signs off. Every Wednesday, every other week, you're going to get a check by Friday for anything you've done every 2 weeks.
And by the way, anybody watching this or listening to it, I can verify I did work for them back in the day, and that's the way it worked.
Yeah, it's not a lie. I mean, like that is why we have some of the sub base we have. All right, I know there's a lot of you still on here watching this. You got questions, throw them in here. You guys have been asking good questions. So other than Redder, who is not better, I mean, Evan's been asking good questions. Paul's been asking good questions. Freezy's throwing out the Freezy. But yeah, I mean, these are the conversations I like to have, because and you guys are driving a lot of this right now because you guys are wanting to see more of this. I'm going to keep bringing more of these type of people on, like Casey, that can sit here and share their expertise with you, because that's what you guys want to hear. And we're going to throw it in the multifamily allies. But if you guys have questions, you have other guests you'd like to see, topics, I mean, throw them out there. I mean, I'm happy to dive into this with you. Like there is no secret sauce. There is no shortcuts. Construction is construction. It's been going on since the beginning of time. So, at the end of the day, most of it's going to come down to relationships and stuff like that. So, I don't care if you're a competitor, come at it. Like, be a part of the group. Like, I don't care. Like, you're not taking anything away from me. Hopefully you're adding some value to the group. Just don't come to the group and not add any value.
It's not even about sometimes knowledge. It's about the willingness to get the job done.
Yeah.
Sometimes those can be two different things.
It absolutely can.
It's somebody that, man, if you're working hard and you're figuring it out and getting after, you show up on time and
do the work.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing with, we haven't got into this very much, and I do want to make sure I let you touch on this, because I know this is a big part of what you do, and being in the masonry products and services. Talk to us a little bit about sustainability and where that's going and where you see that going throughout the industry.
Yeah, so great point. I mean, you're seeing homes and apartments down in certain industries being built by machines now.
Did you see the video where they're making meat out of a 3D printer now?
What?
Yes.
Yeah, bro. I almost threw up and I was like, please tell me this is not where we're going.
Yes.
They're taking enzymes and breaking food down to a molecular level, and they have these, like, it straight up looks like something out of, like, I don't know, space age shit.
If
and
it
bro,
don't
like,
move
they got
or
these
cluck, I'm not messing with
dude, they've got these like canisters with, like, I'm not shitting you, like blue, yellow, green, like liquid in it. It goes through a 3D printer, and now they have a piece of meat, like literally looks like a steak, and dude throws it on a grill and you have steak out of a 3D printer. I ain't eating that shit.
Well,
No
they're also
fucking
making
way.
homes out of 3D printers.
Now that I can believe.
That I
can believe.
I can see how you can do that, but
That's a big ass printer though. But yeah, I can believe that.
But yeah, and trust me, once they do homes, they'll start doing apartment buildings, this and the other.
But you said the machines or the robots were building, as in the construction, replacing man, as far as the construction.
Yeah, no, they're
Framing it and all that?
Oh, well, yeah, it's all, but it's not wood framing.
It's more modular, like if I was putting together Legos or something.
It's concrete. If I'm not mistaken, but
thank you, Paul.
But where everything is going, and we spoke about this a little bit before, building envelope, and it's becoming tighter and tighter and tighter. From where I come from, background, masonry, I think you're going to see over the next decade that full brick, full stone veneer is possibly going to go. It's going to go away.
It's gone.
It's
I
gone.
mean, you already got liquid limestone that they've made, spraying it on, and then they carve it out, and it looks exactly the same.
And we all know the word sustainability. But you're going to want products that that 20 years from now look the same.
Yeah.
Thin veneer stone has come a long ways.
Huge.
Thin veneer brick has come a long ways.
But it's more because, don't you think that's more because of like the backings and the water coating and the waterproofing systems that they've created now that go behind these products? And if that shit ain't done right, you are fucked. So you better do your research.
Is it cost effective by going to
Can
this
be.
new style that you're
No.
saying? It's not.
No, it's way more. So to lay king size brick on a building, it's gonna run turnkey. It's gonna run somewhere around $14 a square foot. It could run as small as 12.
Or as high as 18.
Well, modular, when you get to modular, we're talking about 17 to 20. To do a thin veneer product, I don't care if it's brick or stone, you're talking about 23 to 30. No, sorry. You're talking 25 to 30.
So why do it?
Well, your water retention is much less.
So the lifespan or the maintenance of the build doing it that way
should hold up better. That's correct.
Then I see the cost. I see the reason why for that reason.
But you also got products, and I represent one with Levante that wood grain aluminum, wood grain. So you're seeing that all, and Hardy's come a long ways.
Yeah, Hardy's up there too.
I bet you guys are using the shit out of Hardy.
Yeah, I just had a client that changed all their bottom trims on their posts to Hardy because when the water sits on it, because inevitably you could over flash something, but like reality is you're still going to have horizontal surfaces that water is going to sit on. Would you rather that sit on a cedar product that is painted, that's going to have to be maintained more, or would you rather it sit on a cementitious substrate that is painted?
So what does that do for the person who has got the skilled expertise in masonry? Does that put people out of work? Do you adapt to then doing it that way?
I don't know necessarily if it does that.
They have to learn new skills.
I was about to say, do they just adapt? Because it's still masonry fundamentals.
Yeah,
that doesn't go away. You still got to lay sands and know stuff and weights and ratios and whatever the scientificness is to that. You're just
so the layup for anything thin over full veneer it's longer, and it costs more money. You don't have to pour a brick ledge.
You don't have to have manholes. You don't have to have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to have angle iron in there that's going to rust out.
Right.
You don't have to have brick ties that are going to eventually let go, fail. I mean, there's a lot of things where they're innovating products to adapt. But your traditional brick-laying masonry expert is these companies have to invest in educating and training them in these new materials. Just like you've gone away from sheathing pretty much in basic standards to now there's these zip boards and it's got a special tape and Tyvek and
So anybody getting into that now, these are probably going to
but I mean this goes all the way back to windows, doors, Garrett said earlier, I mean, it's building envelope. It's how do you seal a building that is going to be as watertight as you can get it.
But still have airflow and breathability and all these other things that are essential.
I've dealt with custom builders before that they can seal a home so tight that you need fans
to circulate the air.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to change your whole air systems then because you got to filtrate air in and out.
Every month is like $5.
It's efficient as hell.
Yeah, as long as you have the right airflow systems too. Like you can't do one without the other either. So you've got to make sure that your trades are aligned.
So it sounds like your industry is kind of experiencing what the automotive industry is getting now because now...
Oh, it's a great point.
It's if you look at now service bays, they have a whole section for all these electrical cars because electrical is now...
I'll give you an example. Of where people are not understanding how things are designed and don't have enough knowledge to do it right. I just dealt with a water leak issue where... your window frames, like old school windows, if the seals around them and the window flanges, and I know I'm getting very technical and I'm not going to break this down a whole lot because I don't think the majority of people want to hear this.
My head will blow up over
right.
Here and that'll hurt.
But they have flanges and counter flashings and all this stuff to help keep water to drain around the outside of the windows. Okay. Right? These new windows are designed where they have like water drains built into the frame. Mm-hmm. And in the corners, they have little like weep holes basically that let that water run down and around the window. When it hits the top part, the flashing is still protecting the building, and it runs down and around, and then out these little corners, it pours the water out so that it trickles down the building, right? I think everybody can understand that. Now, here's your problem. You get a maintenance guy that doesn't understand the system, and he says this window's leaking. Well, was it installed properly? A lot of things you can do to test this to find out. Their instant, cheap-ass fix is to go caulk the shit out of this with like some NP1. Problem is, when they do that, they always caulk the water dams in the corners.
And it builds up.
Now the water is building up inside of the built-in drainage system, and yeah, you have water going into your window unit now because and you know how hard it is to pull hardened caulking NP1 out of those drains when like the shit is liquid, it goes up in there and expands and then it hardens. Well, you can get some of it out. You can't get all that shit out without tearing the frame all to shit.
So you gotta replace
So like now you're replacing a whole window, but that's because your maintenance guy tried to do something favorable for you but didn't understand the system. So like people got to educate people more on this. And you know, this is kind of another point I wanted to touch on, and I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, but like, if your construction team and your management team isn't advising you to make sure that your envelope is good and that you're watertight and that like your substrates...
Hang on, let me cut you off. How much of y'all's is exterior versus interior?
We're probably 80% exterior, 20% interior.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We don't do like interior turns and all that stuff. I would love to be able to handle it, but there's people that are way better and specialize in that.
Okay,
but
that'll lead you into your next question, which I didn't think you guys were a whole bunch interior.
I mean, we do office spaces. I mean, we do a lot of stuff that does involve interior, but we don't do turns and all this interior renovation on a per unit basis.
And there's I would say, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. I would say 70% of the GCs out there, period. That's all they do is interior finish outs.
It just depends. No, I would say in my realm of most of the interior guys I know, like I'll give a shout out to Jason Kelly, my boy over at Matrix. Matrix has interior renovation shit pretty much figured out. Like they do it really well. They've brought plumbing and HVAC and stuff like that in-house. They can knock out turns really well. And you know, that's something where I would like to bring a company like that in and merge with somebody like that where we can offer a full package. But like, that's not where we're at right now. And that's not what we specialize, but like, that's something they specialize in. That's their bread and butter. Whereas I'll tell you, I want to deal with fires. I want to deal with carpentry and paint. I want to deal with your general maintenance and your remodel of like amenity centers and stuff like that. Like that's what I want to take care of. They can do all those turns they want to do, because the reality is I'm going to be at $20,000 and they're going to be at $14,000 on a turn. Like that's their bread and butter. So like, let them do what they're really good at. Like, and I have no problem with that.
I didn't mean knock you off topic.
No, but I mean like, and I will tell clients that too. Like, I'm not afraid if my client calls me and says like, I need XYZ. Man, that's really not our specialty. Let me give you the name and number of someone that can handle this. Like I'm giving them work, but I'm helping them.
Resource.
I'm becoming a resource. I'm helping them. I'm feeding them something that they need right there, you know? And like, I have no problem doing that, and I'll turn that away. But what I was getting at earlier was, I see this a lot, and I think it's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Like, these owners get so wrapped up in wanting to add amenities, increase rents by like putting new countertops in, changing to the latest color scheme that is popular, you know, whether that's chrome interiors or all black appliances, or we want granite or we want marble countertops, you know, whatever it is, cool. But have you addressed the building envelope? Like, if you're not taking care of your exterior facades, your roofing, your siding, your paint, if you're neglecting that shit, someone needs to tell you to stop and like, hey, I know you really want to do this, but like, how do you balance that with if 20, 30% of your units constantly are having leaks, sustaining water damage, and getting, you know, all these interior damages? What's the point? Because you just spent $15,000 updating the interior. And I get it, Brian. You're saying there's no return on investment for the envelope. There's not, but you're protecting the asset. Like, there's a certain balance, I think, that needs to be focused there a little more.
I don't agree with you there. There's no return on your envelope.
It's not going to increase where they get at is because in putting these improvements in brings them higher rents, or they're able to rent the units more.
Okay.
But you're still going to get bad. You're still going to hold on.
Your value.
You're still going to get bad reviews.
But I can promise you, it will decrease the value of the property over the years. Now, if you're going to go sell it, okay. I get it.
Yeah, if it's a flip,
I get it.
If it's a flip, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're going to hold this for any amount of time, I think there needs to be more of a focus on making sure your envelope's protected.
I think that there will be. Well, I tell you what, if you just Google building envelope companies.
It's going to be few.
Oh, it's more than what you think.
Yeah, but like the ones that are truly good and specialize in it. But Brian, we're going to have you on here.
Deal.
Like, we got to make this happen, and you and I need to have this.
I'll bet you 5 years ago, if you Googled that, there would be one.
He just said interior waterfalls is the new trend.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. And like, I would love you. You and I need to do this. We're going to make this happen soon. And we're going to sit down and have these conversations, because you, from the ownership side and management side, like that, these are good conversations that people need to hear. But like, I still think there's a good chunk and percentage of ownership that is not addressing I feel like their priorities is wrong. From a guy on the outside looking in, you protect your investment. Like, I get it. If you protect it, then as you continue to protect it and people know that they have a home that's not leaking, doesn't have these repeated problems all the time, like, and you address these things, and I know you do a really good job of this, but not everybody does. If you protect that envelope, cool. Now you're not spending all this extra money fixing all this bullshit throughout the year. And when you do those upgrades, they're protected and they're going to be longer lasting. I mean, let's get away from what's trendy and fucking cool. And just because I can say I have brand new chrome stainless steel appliances, I have these cool light fixtures, but shit, my windows and doors are leaking all the damn time. And like, I have mold in my HVAC units, and I have all this bullshit. So
5-6 years ago, I was on I was doing a Ridgeview Ranch amenity center, and it was maybe 7 years ago. And the GC comes, he goes, "I need you to pick up the roll-on moisture barrier." I said, he goes, "Behind the stucco." I said, "What in the living hell are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, there's a roll-on moisture barrier. I need you to pick it up." I said, "Why would I do a roll-on moisture barrier? I'm a mason." And he goes, "Need you to pick it up." So I looked into it. Now it's picked up all the time. The rigid insulation, the 2 inch, 1.5, 1.5, 2 inch rigid, that's picked up all the time. But these are things that were never picked up by, and they should not be picked up by a masonry company. They should not.
You should have your guys in a GC firm that have guys that specialize in the waterproofing.
I tell you what, and I said this, I told a good buddy of mine that's now my business partner. I wish 5 years ago I would have picked up, we would have started a building envelope company. Not call it a masonry company. Just a building envelope company. Now, there's X amount of classes you need to go to, X amount of licenses you need to get.
That case, I don't know if you want to go. I mean, I know you really love Texas Tech. I don't know if you want to go back and get your engineering degree that bad so that you can be qualified to do all these reports and use these special cameras. But
I'm telling you, there is so much money in it.
It is. And, you know, like we're lacking in trade skills and stuff like that. So, I mean, any of the young kids listening out there, go learn a trade, learn to specialize in something and be an expert at it. And, like, I promise you that's going to pay dividends if you put in the work.
Tell you what, I got a quick story on that. I've got one of my sons is graduating this year. The other one, he's a sophomore. And they asked me, they said, Dad, what are you willing to pay for college-wise? I said, well, depends on what you're getting. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're going to get an engineering degree, I'm willing to pay for a damn good college that you get an engineering degree.
Yeah.
I said, but it depends on what you want to be. I said, now, if you're going to be a teacher, which there's nothing, or a coach, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd love for you to be a teacher and a coach. I said, but guess what? You're going to Collin College for 4 years. You go get that degree. I said, it's return on my investment.
Yeah.
I said, if you want to be a doctor, well, I'll go find a great doctor school for you.
Yeah.
And I'll go pay for that. It's the same thing you just said. You pay for what you get, right? I mean,
and you can get education in a lot of different ways. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but
I tell you, I got another story. What's his name? He's my plumber. He came over to my house a while back, and he's just exactly what you'd expect with a plumber. He's about 5'8". He probably weighs about 230. He's got a big old belly. He's got a.
Are you saying all plumbers look alike?
Okay. He's got, and that the dude, if he shaved at 5 a.m., he'd need to shave again at 5 p.m. He's got a cooler full of Dr. Pepper in the back of his F-150, beat up F-150. And he talks like this. You got a very raspy voice. Anyway, he comes over my house. It's probably a year ago. And he fixes some issues I had. And he had to come over late. Anyway, he leaves, and my two boys said, it said, who was that? I said, well, that was our plumber. And they go, man, he was a little rough. I said, that man right there can buy me over 2 times.
Yep. Nobody wants to do the dirty work.
They said, what do you mean? I said, oh, he makes way more money than I do. It ain't even close.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that guy's a licensed plumber. He can name his number.
Yeah, go look at Plum Crazy. Look at my boy Kelly buying fancy horses and shit.
Yeah. I said, that dude makes more money than I ever thought about making. Not even close. And they're like, what kind of money is he making? I told them. I said, I guarantee he makes $500,000 a year.
Or more.
Yeah.
If you get master plumber, you can make a shit ton of money. Same thing, master electrician. Do the jobs that nobody else wants to do. Nobody wants to put in the hard work anymore.
Yes. I said, guys, that dude's doing it right.
Yeah.
I said, the only reason he's still working is because he's just collecting so much damn money.
Yeah.
I said, he could retire tomorrow, and I mean, he's worth millions.
Yeah.
I said, master plumber, master electrician, welder,
HVAC expert.
HVAC. I said, my God, you can make more money than you ever thought about making.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, we've now, since we started a little late, we've hit the 2-hour mark for sure.
Oh my goodness.
So I told you it would happen before you knew it.
No kidding.
So we're going to wrap this up for y'all tonight. We'll be back again next week. It'll be around Tuesday. Next 2 weeks are going to be on Tuesday. I'll have some good guests lined up for you guys. I want you guys to thank Casey for coming out.
Thank you guys.
He shared a lot of information. I didn't do our what are we drinking, what are we smoking, just so nobody hits me up. Maybe Ron or Rhonda's watching this and they're going to hammer us because we didn't talk about it. So we'll talk about that real quick. So tonight I smoked a Cochon Volant by Principal. You guys have seen me smoke that before. Very excellent cigar. And then Casey smoked the Genesis by Jamon over at DC. Casey likes a good mild cigar, so we brought him the Genesis that you guys have seen me give guests before. That's one he did with Luciano. Shout out to Luciano. Guy makes some phenomenal damn cigars, and shout out to Darren as well, man.
And it was excellent.
Yeah, these Cochon Volant, you're going to love that Cochon Volant when you get to smoke that some other time. So, all right, man, we're going to wrap this up. There's 2 questions we ask every guest at the end of our show. So you're on the hot seat now.
Okay.
So if you had one piece of advice you could leave your children with, what would that piece of advice be?
One piece of advice, leave my kids with. Jesus. Work hard and don't. Well, it's not a question. I teach my kids to work hard and play hard, and if they don't know the answer to something, ask it.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I mean, I've been horribly fortunate that both my boys are well disciplined, and they work hard. They do really great at what they do. I just can't tell you how proud of them I am of them. I mean, I almost brings me to tears. They're so awesome. But they always follow your morals, always follow your hard work, know that nothing's given, and follow your path, and wherever that leads you, that's where you're going.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
All right, last part. We love to do a segment called It's Common Sense, the podcast. So now if I didn't ask you something, or there's just something you're inspired to tell us about, you get to speak freely however you would like and just give us Casey's 2 cents. This should be interesting.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. I mean, Garrett, I just want everybody out there listening to know that Garrett is as good a dude as you'll ever listen to. I'm only going to be on this thing one time. Garrett's got this thing every week. And I can't tell you people out there how good of a dude he is. And
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. And, I mean, he's got a really great team. Y'all don't see the gentleman that over here running a bunch of the stuff.
They know who Biz is.
Oh, they know who Biz is.
I'm part of the furniture, yeah. We good.
Well, I mean, it's just such a pleasure to be on here. And I don't have any more common sense than anybody else, I guess. But, you know, I grew up an East Texas boy in a ranch, and
you qualify then. You got right there.
Qualified. Even with that horrible hat on.
Qualify for know what you know what you don't know, and when you don't know, go ask.
It's great advice, man. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming out. Thank you for the kind words, man. I hope you guys learned a lot from this tonight. Hope this was worth your time. I hope you guys will join us again next week. We'll be back with some more industry knowledge. Maybe we'll have a guest in another field. I don't know yet. I'm still working on next week, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week, remember, next 2 weeks, Tuesday, same time, same place, but we're going Tuesday like old school when we originally did it.
Oh, by the way,
I know, right? It's you say old school now, man. It's like Tuesdays again? But since bad words ain't doing their thing, we're gonna still do Tuesdays. Oh man, shut up with that. Boomer sooner. And when you get ready for the big boy stage, come out to the SEC. Let me know when you're ready. You know, you're still riding that Patrick Mahomes trade, so I already know where you're going. Anyways, thank you guys. We'll see you again next week. Peace.